Hey guys, it's LordOfThePogs. Last week I made a video about Back to the Future. Back to the Future is arguably the most well-known time travel story, rivaled only by H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, and regarded by many as one of the greatest movies ever made. But it's not my favorite time travel movie, and I don't even think it's the best. Time travel has been studied by physicists like Stephen Hawking and Albert Einstein. Time travel to the past is highly unlikely because it carries with it the problem of causality, that is, cause and effect. A cause generates an effect. An effect can't occur before the cause, and an effect can't be prevented once the cause has occurred. Time travel to the past presents opportunities for effects to occur before their cause, to stop the cause and have the effect still take place, or to create a cause which would normally produce an effect but doesn't, which produces a temporal paradox. The most widely referred to example of this is the grandfather paradox, where a time traveler travels back in time and kills his own grandfather. The time traveler then would have never been born, and doing what he just did would be impossible. A resolution to this is the Novikov self-consistency principle, which asserts if an event exists that would cause a paradox or any change to the past whatsoever, then the probability of that event is zero. A time traveler can do anything that did happen, but cannot do anything that did not happen, since doing something that did not happen results in a contradiction. The point is that time travel is messy. It's complicated. I think that some of the best time travel movies are messy, maybe even purposefully obfuscated, to convey the complexity and confusion that time travel creates. The Man Who Folded Himself is a novel written in 1973 about a man who inherits the ability to travel through time at the touch of a button. It's not a movie, but I think it would do well as one. He meets several different versions of himself at different ages, eventually encountering himself as a woman. They get married, and she becomes pregnant and gives birth to yet another version of himself. At some point, he comes to realize that he no longer meets other versions of himself and discovers that the changes he's made have erased his childhood and early life. Primer is a 2004 psychological sci-fi film about the accidental discovery of time travel. Two engineers working on a project accidentally create an A to B causal loop, where an event creates an effect, which in turn causes the first event. An example of an A to B causal loop is a billiard ball rolling toward a time machine, and the future self of the billiard ball emerges from the time machine before its past self enters it, striking it and altering its path, causing it to enter the time machine at an angle that would cause its future self to strike its first self. In this case, the change in the billiard ball's path is its own cause. In Primer, the engineer switches on the time machine and his past self exits. He then enters the time machine and becomes his past self. The engineer and his double coexist for a time before the double ceases to exist by entering the time machine. As the engineers continue their experiments and travel back in time at different intervals, they begin to encounter multiple doubles of each other and themselves. The characters' use of technical jargon in their dialogue is borderline incomprehensible to put the audience in their shoes. They stumbled upon time travel accidentally and encounter quandaries as they try to figure out what's going on. The story is hopelessly confusing and grows more and more complex as it unravels, which is the point. I think Primer is one of the best time travel movies, and it might be the best one there is. Time Lapse isn't so much a time travel movie as a movie about seeing into the future that creates increasingly complex A to B causal loops. It's a 2014 film about three people who discover a camera at an adjacent apartment that takes pictures of their living room window 24 hours into the future. They theorize that they have to see the pictures the camera takes and make sure the events in the photos take place, or else they will cease to exist. One of the characters tries to stop an event from happening by writing a message to herself and pasting it on the window to send a message to herself 24 hours in the past. Project Almanac is a 2015 found-footage sci-fi film about a group of high school students who build a time machine. It's not my favorite time travel movie, but I believe it's among the most creative. My favorite scene in time travel movies is in Project Almanac. One of the students finds an old camera with a video recording of his 7th birthday party and sees himself as an adult in the reflection.
That's my 7th birthday. Quinn, I'm telling you, I'm looking at it right now. You were a chubby kid. No, I mean, it's weird to hear his voice for the first time, like, after all these years.
Are you getting this?
Like the last three.
What was that?
Here we go.
Hold on a sec. Nothing, I just saw something in the mirror.
Are you getting this?
Like the last three.
Holy shit. Quinn, I gotta go. Chris, come down here!
Dude, is it? That can't be.
That's me.
David, you are just seeing what you want to see.
Maybe, I don't know, someone could have photoshopped.
Nobody's messed with it. It's been my attic for 10 years.
Arguably, Timeline is the most well-known movie, and the most well-known book for that matter, on my list. It's a 2003 film based on a 1999 novel by Michael Crichton that tells the story of a team of archaeology students who go back in time to medieval France to rescue their professor from a battle. The book was generally well received by critics, but the movie was a box office bomb, earning just $43 million against a budget of $80 million and currently holds 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't understand why people hated it so much. I liked it. My favorite movie on this list, and one of my favorite movies of all time, and possibly my favorite time travel movie, is the 1980 film Somewhere in Time. It was based on a 1975 novel titled Bid Time Return, although subsequent editions used the title Somewhere in Time after the release of the movie. A playwright named Richard Collier becomes obsessed with a photograph of a young woman named Elise McKenna. Through self-hypnosis, he travels back in time to meet her and falls in love. The story starts with an elderly woman Richard doesn't know who approaches him at a gala and tells him, "Come back to me." She dies in her sleep that night. Unbeknownst to Richard or to the viewer, the elderly woman was Elise McKenna, and her "come back to me" comment referred to their first meeting in 1922, when Richard traveled back in time. Upon meeting Elise and falling in love, he learns that the portrait of her that he became obsessed with earlier was taken while she was looking at him. This is another example of an A to B casual loop. Richard saw the picture, which made him want to meet Elise, but the picture was taken after they had already met. So, which event occurred first? The movie also makes reference to the real-life claim of accidental time travel called the Moberly-Jourdain Incident. The claim was made by Charlotte Ann Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain that while touring the Palace of Versailles on August 10, 1901, they entered a time slip to the period of the French Revolution. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider dropping a tip. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that little bell in the corner to get notifications on more videos like this one.